You know that feeling? That low hum of just monotony? Like you're just going through the motions day in, day out, wake up, same routine, same old tasks, maybe the same conversations.
Yeah.
And the sparks kind of dimmed, progress feels like it's stalled out, and everything just seems stuck on repeat.
Yeah, that hamster wheel feeling.
Exactly. And it can creep into, well, pretty much any part of life, can it? Work, relationships, your passions, even just getting through the day.
Yeah.
That sense you're running really hard, but, not actually getting anywhere.
It's incredibly common, that specific feeling. Being caught in a pattern that feels, well, dull, lacks momentum, and honestly, it's just draining.
Right.
It touches on that feeling of being unfulfilled. Like if there's this gap between where you are now and where you think you should be or want to be.
And people often call that being stuck in a rut. It's not just boredom, though, is it? It feels heavier.
It does, yeah.
Like you're actually down in your trench looking up, and the sides just feel too steep to climb out easily.
That's a good way to put it. And in this deep dive, we're going to really unpack that feeling using the material you mentioned. Like, what does being stuck really mean?
Okay.
We'll dig into some of the psychological stuff that might be keeping you there. And importantly, pull out some actual concrete steps from these sources, ways to help you find that missing momentum and, start moving forward again.
So kind of a shortcut to understanding the why and figuring out some practical hows.
Exactly. Consider it that.
All right, let's get into it then. What are the signals, the telltale signs that we're actually in this rut?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it can feel so normal after a while.
That's the tricky part. It really can become the new normal. But the sources, they highlight some key things to watch for. And maybe think about your own experience as we go through these.
Okay.
A really big one is just a noticeable lack of motivation. Things you used to genuinely look forward to, things that gave you energy. Now they just feel like obligations or just flat.
Yeah, like the hobbies start gathering dust. Or that project at work that seemed exciting at first just feels like another chore on a huge list.
Precisely. And that often goes hand in hand with a kind of pervasive fatigue, not just physical tiredness, like you didn't sleep well,
Right.
but that mental and emotional exhaustion, just feeling drained.
Yeah.
You might also feel this persistent sense of being unfulfilled, that awareness that you're not quite living up to your potential or moving towards where you want to go.
That gap feeling you mentioned.
Right, exactly that gap. Another sign, increased avoidance, procrastinating more, maybe because tasks just feel overwhelming or even a bit pointless in the grand scheme of things. Your whole mindset might shift too, become more negative, a more pessimistic outlook. Maybe you start expecting the worst more often.
Like seeing hurdles everywhere instead of possibilities.
Yeah, and then there's the core feeling, lack of progress, just spinning your wheels in your career, personal growth, maybe even relationships. The daily routine itself, it can start feeling draining. That's routine fatigue.
Yeah.
And you might find yourself pulling back socially too, withdrawing from friends, family, maybe because it just takes too much energy or you don't really know how to explain how you're feeling.
It's hard to connect when you feel disconnected from yourself, I guess.
Absolutely. Other things the sources mention, drop in creativity, lower productivity, maybe more emotional ups and downs, irritability, sadness, even finding it hard to make decisions, big or small ones.
Oh, okay. So it can manifest in a lot of ways.
It can. And in more intense cases, it can even lead to feelings of hopelessness, like things will just never get better. But the key thing here isn't about diagnosing or labeling yourself negatively.
Right.
It's that recognizing these signals, just noticing them, is the absolutely crucial first step towards acknowledging something needs, well, some attention, some change.
Okay, so step one is awareness, just seeing it for what it is and understanding why this happens could make it feel less like a personal failing. Which brings us to this concept from the sources, learned helplessness. Sounds kind of heavy.
It does sound heavy, but understanding it is actually, I think, quite empowering. The basic idea, it comes from research, experiments actually, showing that if someone, or even an animal, experiences repeated negative situations they can't control, they can learn to just stop trying to escape or change things. Even if later an escape route does become available, they've sort of learned that their actions don't matter.
So they learn that effort is useless, basically. So they stop trying even when it might work this time.
Exactly. And for us humans, this translates into feeling like we lack control over important outcomes in our lives. It hits our self-efficacy hard. That's our belief in our own ability to actually achieve our goals.
Right.
When we feel like our efforts consistently, maybe over a long time, don't lead to results, that belief just erodes. And that really contributes to feeling stuck.
It's a pattern that's often looked at in relation to depression, too.
That makes a lot of sense. If you keep trying things and they, I don't know, fail, or you hit walls,
Oh, yeah.
you just can't get past.
Yeah. You might just start to believe deep down that your actions don't make a difference.
And the sources really emphasize that how we explain those setbacks to ourselves, our attributional style, is a massive piece of this. Think about it. When something bad happens, do you tend to think the cause is permanent, like it'll always be this way? Or personal, meaning it's inherently your fault, and pervasive, meaning it affects every area of your life?
So, like, this project failed, it's because I'm just not capable, and that means I'll probably fail at everything else, too. That kind of thinking.
Exactly like that. That's what psychologists call a pessimistic explanatory style. Seeing bad stuff as permanent, personal, and pervasive. The sources suggest that if you lean towards that style, you're much more likely to experience learned helplessness and feel stuck.
Okay.
But if you tend to see challenges as, say, temporary, specific just to this one situation, and maybe influenced by external factors, not just you,
then it's easier to keep trying, to feel like you still have some agency.
Precisely. It helps maintain that sense of agency. So it's often less about the difficulty itself and more about the story you tell yourself about it.
Wow. That's powerful.
And understanding this isn't about blaming yourself for your mindset. Not at all.
Okay.
It's about realizing that feeling stuck might actually be rooted in a learned pattern of interpretation, a pattern you can potentially work to change. And that perspective shift itself can be huge. It moves from something's wrong with me to, okay, this is a psychological pattern I can maybe understand and address.
Yeah, just reframing it like that feels lighter somehow. Okay, so we've talked about what it feels like, the signs, and some of the deep psychology behind it, like learned helplessness. Now for the practical bit. What steps, pulling from these sources, can actually help us start moving, get some momentum going?
Right. This is where we get into the how. And the very first step, emphasized again and again in the material, is simply to acknowledge your feelings.
So not just spotting the signs like we talked about, but actually letting yourself feel them.
Yes. And this is crucial. Giving yourself permission to feel unmotivated or unhappy or stagnant without piling on self-judgment.
That's hard, though.
It is. But the sources frame this not as some kind of failure, but as a normal part of being human, and actually a necessary starting point for change. It's about practicing self-compassion right there in the tough moment. Like one source puts it, you have to recognize the feeling first. Just let it be there.
Okay. Acknowledge the struggle. Be kind to yourself about it.
Got it.
What comes next?
Next up is identify the cause. Or causes, maybe. Once you've acknowledged the feeling, it's time for a bit of introspection.
Detective work?
Kind of, but not about blame. It's about getting clarity.
Yeah.
The sources suggest asking yourself specific questions, like which parts of my life feel the most stuck? Is it just work, or is it spilling over into other areas? When did this feeling really start? Or when does it feel most intense? Are there obvious external things going on in your environment, maybe your current job role, even the people you spend time with? The goal here is just to constructively pinpoint what seems to be at the root of it.
So getting specific about the problem areas, untangling the threads.
Exactly. And once you have a slightly clearer picture, even if it's not perfect, the sources strongly recommend breaking that inertia by setting small, achievable goals.
Ah, yes, the classic advice. But it's classic for a reason, right? Because trying to fix everything at once is just overwhelming.
Totally overwhelming. And small goals combat that directly.
Yeah.
The power of small wins is just huge for rebuilding momentum and that sense of self-efficacy we lost.
Right, that belief you can actually do things.
Yes. One source talks about keystone habits, starting one very small, consistent, positive action that can ripple out and improve other areas too. So instead of this massive overhaul goal, you break down bigger dreams into really manageable pieces.
Like chunking it down.
Exactly. Chunking it. If the big goal feels like climbing Mount Everest, the small goal is just putting on your walking shoes today. Or, if you dream of running a marathon, the small goal might literally be walk for 15 minutes 3 times this week.
Okay, that feels way less scary than become a runner overnight.
Right. And the sources mention framing these as well-formed outcomes, which basically means making them specific, positive, realistic, and actually aligned with what you value. So instead of something vague like, I want to be happier, a well-formed outcome might be, I will dedicate 30 minutes every Tuesday evening to sketching because creativity makes me feel good. It's concrete. You can do it.
And achieving those little things gives you a boost.
It does.
Yeah.
Apparently, it releases dopamine in your brain, creates a positive feedback loop, reinforces motivation, makes you want to take the next small step.
Okay, so acknowledge, identify, break it down into tiny, smart steps. What's number 4?
Fourth, the sources suggest actively seeking new experiences. This is about breaking the monotony that often fuels the rut.
Shaking things up.
Yeah, even in small ways.
Yeah.
Deviate from your routine. Take a different route home from work. Try a new recipe for dinner. Read a book totally outside your usual genre.
Little things.
Little things. Or slightly bigger things like meeting new people, maybe joining a club or a group, or taking a short trip, even just for a day. It's about changing your routine, changing your scenery, inviting fresh perspectives. It can really shake things up and show you possibilities you hadn't thought of.
Injecting a bit of novelty. I like that.
Fifth is self-care. Now, this might sound really basic, but the sources underline just how fundamental it is, especially when you're feeling drained and stuck.
The essentials.
The absolute essentials. Getting enough quality sleep, eating nutritious food that fuels you, maybe less processed stuff, and getting some physical activity. Seriously, even just a short walk. Exercise releases endorphins, lifts your mood, boosts energy. It makes everything else feel more manageable.
Yeah, you can't run on empty. Makes sense.
Sixth, connect with others. We're social creatures, right?
Right.
Isolating yourself when you're in a rut just makes it deeper and harder to climb out of.
So reach out.
Reach out. Talk to supportive friends, family members. Just sharing how you feel can provide perspective, validation, maybe even some practical ideas. And the sources also strongly suggest considering professional help.
Like a therapist or counselor.
Exactly. They offer a safe, confidential space and tailored guidance. One source even suggests creating a support matrix.
A what now?
A support matrix, like mapping out different people or resources for different kinds of support. Someone you can just vent to emotionally, someone else who might give good practical advice, maybe an accountability buddy for those small goals, and then a professional expert for deeper work.
Huh. Building a whole team around you. That's a really cool idea.
Isn't it? Okay, seventh, embrace learning and growth. Stimulating your mind can really provide a sense of purpose and open up new possibilities.
How so?
Well, reading something new, taking an online course, even just learning a small new skill, it gives you a sense of accomplishment. It reminds you that you are capable of change and development, which directly counters that stuck feeling. Plus, it might spark new interests or directions.
Keeping the brain active and expanding horizons. Got it.
Eighth, the sources really stress the value of mindfulness and reflection. Mindfulness is about being present with whatever you're feeling, but without judging it, just noticing. This helps break those negative thought loops that keep you stuck.
Being aware in the moment.
Yes. And one source offers a neat little framework. First, recognize the feeling when it comes up without pushing it away. Then release the physical tension associated with it, maybe literally shake it out or take a few deep breaths. And finally, refocus on what small shift you actually want to make right now.
Recognize, release, refocus.
Yeah. And then you can follow that up by asking, why do I want this shift? And ask, how might I achieve this small shift? It's a structured way to use mindfulness proactively. And reflection, like maybe journaling or just talking things through, helps you process thoughts and feelings more deeply over time.
That framework sounds really useful. Recognize, release, refocus, ask why, ask how.
Okay, what's the last step?
The last one, and maybe the hardest but most important, be patient and persistent. Change is almost never a straight line, right?
Definitely not.
Progress takes time. You will have setbacks. Things won't always go smoothly. The sources really emphasize. Don't get discouraged by slow results or bad days. Stay committed to those small steps, even when it feels really hard.
Keep going.
Keep going. Every little bit of effort builds resilience. And this is key. Take time to celebrate your small victories along the way. Acknowledge your progress, no matter how tiny it seems. It reinforces the positive changes and helps keep you motivated for the long haul. That's a really comprehensive toolkit. Acknowledge, identify small goals, new experiences, self-care, connect, learn, mindfulness, and patience. It really sounds like it boils down to consistent small efforts and shifting your perspective.
It really does.
Yeah.
And beyond those specific action steps, the sources offer some really wise perspectives that can change how you think about getting unstuck in the first place.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, one powerful idea is that you don't always need to, blow up your entire life and start completely fresh.
Phew. That's a relief.
Right. Sometimes feeling stuck is actually a signal that it's time to just tweak your current path. Adjust things so they align better with your values, with what genuinely energizes you. It might be about refining the path you're on, not necessarily finding a totally new one.
Making the existing path work better for you. I like that. Less intimidating.
Exactly. Another perspective is about leveraging your strength. When you feel stuck, maybe feeling a bit inadequate, focusing on what you're already good at, and finding ways to maximize those strengths, creating situations where they can really shine. That can be way more effective than trying to fix every single perceived weakness. Play to your advantages.
Build on what works instead of just focusing on fixing what doesn't.
Precisely. And tying back to the small goals and trying new things, one source suggests framing potential changes as low-risk experiments.
Experiments.
Yeah. Instead of making a huge, scary, permanent-feeling decision, try something out for just, say, 30 days. A new habit, a new way of approaching something. See how it feels. It gives you data, clarity, experience, without feeling like you're locked in forever.
Like a trial run. Takes the pressure off.
It does. And one last perspective that really resonated. Sometimes being in a rut is actually your system's way of telling you that you need a pause.
A pause, not a failure.
Not necessarily a failure state, no. Yeah. But maybe a signal that you need rest or time for reflection or just recovery before you can genuinely move forward with energy. Sometimes figuring out what you truly need in that stillness. Maybe it's rest, maybe it's fun, maybe it's connection. Can be more productive than just forcing yourself into action you're not ready for.
That really reframes the whole idea of a rut. Maybe it's a necessary comma in the sentence of your life, not a full stop.
It absolutely can be. A chance to recalibrate.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive. Feeling stuck, being in a rut, it's super common, deeply human. It has clear signs we can learn to spot. And it can be linked to some pretty deep psychological patterns like learned helplessness and how we explain challenges to ourselves.
Right.
And this is the hopeful part, the sources give us a clear pathway forward. It involved self-compassion, digging in to understand the specifics, the power of small, consistent actions.
Prioritizing our well-being, connecting with others, staying curious and learning.
Practicing mindful awareness and being really patient and persistent with ourselves.
Absolutely. And remembering those broader perspectives.
Yeah.
Maybe it's about tweaking, not rebuilding, leveraging strengths, trying low-risk experiments, and sometimes just honoring the need for a pause.
It's really a journey of self-awareness and intentional steps, isn't it? Often very small steps.
That's exactly it.
So as we leave you with all this to think about, and maybe consider this thought, building on those ideas, what is one small thing, maybe just 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes that you could do this week, not necessarily as progress, but as either a deliberate pause or a tiny low-risk experiment? Something just to intentionally disrupt the pattern that's keeping you feeling stuck.
Yeah, might not feel like pushing forward in the traditional sense, but sometimes that deliberate pause or that tiny little shift, that experiment, that can be the most powerful first step towards finding real momentum again.
Change really does begin with just one step, doesn't it? Or one mindful breath, or one acknowledged feeling. You absolutely have the capacity within you to navigate this one small action at a time.